Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lattes on My Mind. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Felina.
What are we talking about today, Felina? Are we continuing?
We are continuing our Casey Anthony. So this is part 2 of Casey Anthony.
Yeah, do not listen to this one without listening to part 1 because it's not going to make any sense.
You'll be completely lost.
Yeah. So grab those lattes and join us for the journey.
Okay. So we're just going to jump right on into it. I don't think people want to hear the banter. We left them on a pretty heavy note. And I did choose to do that on purpose. But I'm sorry if it made you mad.
Felina, you're just not kind.
I'm just evil over here.
Also, though, if you had time, hopefully you looked up
Casey Anthony.
Yes, and the call. So that, because I couldn't understand some of it, but I had the captions.
It is kind of hard to understand because it's a 911 call, especially if you don't have any captions. Yeah.
Right.
But if you hadn't had a chance to do that, please go look it up.
Right.
Because she made 3 911 calls that night, and you can find all 3 of them on TikTok.
My gosh. 3 in one night.
Yeah. She called first because she was like, hey, I need this person arrested, and they were closed. They were like, go home. We'll send an officer there. Then she called again, and she was like, hey, it's been a while. There's no deputies, blah, 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 blah. And then she called again later and was like, my granddaughter's missing.
Right. So we're 31 days into Caylee missing.
31 days into Caylee being missing.
Right. And they finally this is like the first time that the police have.
And here's my thing. A lot of people are like, Casey, she waited 31 days. I think it's important to note, she never reported her daughter missing. Her mother reported her daughter missing.
Her mother. Yeah. Because when we were looking at that original one, we were saying like, oh, it took her 31 days to even report. But she didn't even report it.
She didn't even report it. Her mother reported it. And then her mother was so emotional that the 911 caller asked her to pass the phone, or the 911 operator asked her to pass the phone to her daughter. And then that's when she finally spoke to the police.
Interesting that the grandmother is more hysterical than the mother.
Yeah. And you can, I would thought that too, but it's also, you can, because she's very cold. Yes, no. I thought I could handle it on my own, but no. I thought I went through different resources, but that was sickening. But you can also think too, if her daughter went missing 31 days ago, she's had 31 days to process that her daughter is missing.
Right, yeah.
There's that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
So we're jumping into it. July 15th through the 16th. And the reason I'm doing that is because police were questioning her in the evening of the 15th and all the way through into the morning of the 16th.
Dang, okay.
Yeah. So detectives, they arrive at the Anthony home, and they have Casey, they end up having Casey take her to the apartment of Zanita. I can't remember how she said her name. Zanny the nanny.
Yeah.
And they're like, point at which apartment is it? And Casey goes, that apartment. She lives in that apartment at Sawgrass Apartments. And I'm gonna say this now because I forgot to say it then. Sawgrass Apartments is the apartments that her friend lived at.
Amy?
No. Do you remember Jesse and Annie and Dante?
Yeah.
Dante lived at Sawgrass Apartments.
Okay, so like when they were both engaged, her best friend was engaged too. Okay.
Yeah, that's how she knows Sawgrass Apartments.
Oh my gosh.
So she said that one, they lived there. She lives there. A detective goes up. He knocks on the door. There's no answer. He shines his flashlight through the window, and he can see that the apartment is vacant. No furniture, not even like rags and cleaning supply. It's completely empty. No one lives there. All right. Now it could be it's been 31 days and she moved, right? It could be that.
Right.
It could be that.
Well, I mean, if you did kidnap someone, you probably would up and leave, but still, like, what the heck?
So the apartment manager confirms that no one under that name has ever lived in the apartments, and the one that Casey pointed to, the apartment number that they gave him, it had been empty. It had been vacant for months.
So right there, sorry, I'm
It's
sorry.
only, right. Like it's only been 31
there,
days.
If you would know which apartment you were taking your kid to for
for the past year and a half
for to be watched. So right there, suspicion immediately.
Mm-hmm. Now, Casey tells them that she went around to familiar places and was like looking and watching and waiting for them to like show up basically. So they have her take like they're driving around for 12 hours. They're questioning for 12 hours. They're not driving for 12 hours, but they're driving around, questioning her, having her write a report like for 12 hours.
Right.
Casey seemed to be more upset that she wasn't able to take a shower and that she was briefly handcuffed in the back of the police car than she was about her daughter being missing.
Okay, B word.
Yes. So we're going to read Casey Anthony's police report. And it's long, and I'm going to do the best I can without stumbling. I'm going to actually move my microphone, so if you hear a noise, that's what that is.
You can experience
that way I can see my notes better.
Yes.
All right. So Monday, this is quote, Monday, June 9th, 2008, between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., I, Casey Anthony, took my daughter, Caylee Marie Anthony, to her nanny's apartment. Caylee will be 3 years old on August 9th, 2008. She was born on August 9th, 2005. Caylee is about 3 foot tall, white female, with shoulder-length light brown hair. She has dark hazel eyes, in parentheses, brown/green, and a small birthmark on her left shoulder. On the day of her disappearance, Caylee was wearing a pink shirt with jean shorts, white sneakers, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. On Monday, June 9th, 2008, between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., I took Caylee to the Sawgrass Apartments located on Conway Road. Kaylee's nanny, Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, has watched her for the past year and a half to 2 years. Zenaida is 25 years old and she is from New York. She is roughly 5 foot 7 inches tall, 140 pounds. She has dark brown curly hair and brown eyes. Zenaida's birthday is in September. I met Zenaida through a mutual friend, Jeffrey Michael Hopkins. She has watched his son, Zachary Hopkins, for 6 months to a year. I met Zenaida in 2004 around Christmas. On the date listed above, June 9th, 2008, after dropping Caylee off at Zenaida's apartment, I proceeded to head to my place of employment at Universal Studios Orlando. I have worked at Universal for over 4 years since June of 2004.
Okay, well, whoever was her employer, is going to be like, that's not true. She didn't work here. We fired her.
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I left work around 5 p.m. and went back to the apartment to pick up my daughter. However, after reaching the apartment, I realized that neither Zenaida or Caylee, nor either of her two roommates, as in Zenaida's two roommates, was home. I had briefly met Raquel Farrell, however you say it.
I don't know.
And Jennifer Rosa on various occasions, her two roommates.
She made up the roommates' names.
Yeah.
Sorry.
After calling Zenaida to see where she and Caylee were and when they were coming home, I waited outside of the apartment. I had called Zenaida earlier that morning prior to bringing Caylee over for the afternoon. When I called her that afternoon, her phone was no longer in service. This is saying to June 9th, her phone was no longer in service. Whereas she said to the 911 operator that day, her phone was no longer in service.
Like
I was able to speak. I was able to speak to her for a brief moment.
That
and
was
no
confusing to me, like when she said that.
Yes, it is confusing because she's lying and she's trying to cover it, so it's not making sense.
She's being so detailed that she can't keep the details straight.
Up.
She can't. Yeah, because it's not true.
Yes. So then she says her phone was no longer in service. 2 hours passed, and around 7 p.m., I left the apartment and headed to familiar places that Zenaida would go with Caylee. One of Caylee's favorite places was J. Blanchard Park. I spent the rest of that evening pacing. Rest of that evening pacing and worrying that one of the few places I felt, quote, at home, unquote, my boyfriend Anthony Lazzaro's apartment. So she spent the rest of that evening at one of the places she felt. And then she put in quotation marks, at home.
Yeah.
With my boyfriend Anthony Lazzaro's apartment.
Okay.
For the past 4 weeks since Caylee's disappearance, I have stayed at Anthony's apartment in Sutton Place. I have spent every day since Monday, June 9th, 2008, looking for my daughter. I have lied and stolen from my friends and my family to do whatever I could by any means to find my daughter. I have avoided calling the police or even notifying my family out of fear. I have been and still am afraid of what has or may happen to Caylee. I have not had any contact with Zenaida since Thursday, June 12th.
Wait, but she just said...
2008. I received a quick call from Zenaida. Not once have I been able to ask for my daughter or gain any information on where I can find her. Every day I have gone to malls, parks, any place I could remember Zenaida taking Caylee. I have gone out and tried to find any information about Caylee or Zenaida, whether by going to a popular bar or restaurant.
How would that...
I don't know. I have contacted Jeff Hopkins on several occasions to see if he had heard from or seen Zenaida. Jeff currently lives in Jacksonville, Florida. You remember she told her mom she was in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
On Tuesday, July 15th, 2008, around 12 p.m., I received a phone call from my daughter, Caylee. Today was the first day I have heard her voice in over 4 weeks. I'm afraid of what Caylee is going through. After 31 days, I know that the only thing that matters is getting my daughter back. With many and all attempts to contact Zenaida, and within the one short conversation on June 12th, 2008, I have never been able to check on the status or well-being of my daughter. Zenaida never made an attempt to explain why Caylee is no longer in Orlando or if she's ever going to bring her home.
Okay, so she literally made up that she talked to her.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and I think that she was writing this out because these are handwritten. So I think that she was writing this out and then she realized, oh, I told the 911 operator I talked to her earlier that day, so I need to bring that back into play.
Yeah. But wait, that doesn't make sense because didn't she tell... Wasn't the call in July? When did the 911
Yes, so
call?
she said on June 12th. Yeah, she said June and then July 15th.
Didn't she tell on July 15th when they called, didn't she tell you that she talked to her that day?
Yes, she said on July 15th,
oh my gosh.
Around 12, I received a phone call.
From
Caylee. Other than that one and the one on June 12th, I've never talked to... And she didn't hear from Caylee on June 12th. Yeah. So that's her report, all jumbled.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes.
Immediately, she's filing a false police report because she is saying that she works at Orlando Studios, Orlando, and she does not work at Orlando Studios, Orlando.
She that's
not even like naming people. Yeah. That's not even like, maybe the other person could be lying. You never know.
Well, yeah,
but immediately her saying she went to work that day, that is a false police report. Yep. She did not go to work that day.
And they can prove that because she was not employed there at that time.
So then you'll see why I'm a little peeved later.
Yeah, more than a little.
So she's there, she's doing that. In the meantime, Lee gets a hold of her phone. Her brother, Lee. Gets a hold of her phone and finds Jeff Hopkins' phone number. And he calls Jeff and he's like, hey, we need to know Zenaida. We need to know if you're in contact with her. We need your last phone number that you have for her. We need to be like, we can't find Caylee. She has Caylee. She's had Caylee for 31 days. Blah, blah, blah.
And he's like, who's Zenaida?
And then Jeff says the only reason that we have each other's number is because we ran into each other a few weeks ago at a nightclub. And before that night, I had not seen Caylee since Casey, since high school. This is a high school classmate.
For real?
For real.
Wait, he does not work at
Universal Studios.
Oh my gosh.
This is a high school classmate. Jeffrey Michael Hopkins does not know Zenaida. Zenaida does not watch his son.
Does he even have a son?
I don't know if he even has a son. He does not work for Universal Orlando.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He has not seen Casey since high school.
Except when he ran out into her.
Just by sheer luck, they ran into each other a few weeks ago and exchanged numbers, and that's why he had her number. Yeah. So then Lee goes over to Tony's apartment and is getting some of Casey's things, including her laptop.
Oh.
And the search history on that night, on the night of like the 15th and 16th.
Yeah.
On that night was cleared on her laptop.
Okay.
So someone was trying to cover up something that was on that laptop. So probably either her mom, my guess would probably be that it was her mom, because her brother, there's a 911, or not a 911, there's a phone call from prison between Caylee and her brother, and he is not happy with her. So I would assume that he's not the one who cleared it.
Yeah.
I would assume that it was Cindy who cleared it, and I'll tell you why in a little bit.
Okay.
So Lee,
and it couldn't have been Casey who cleared it because she was with the police.
She was with the police.
Okay,
she was with the police. She was giving her statement. She was driving them around, and yeah. So Casey's being questioned and relentlessly, and she's sticking to her story. I'll give her that. She remembers what she said in her police report, and she's sticking to it. Okay. Right?
That's the first time.
Yeah, for once. She dropped Caylee off with Zanny on June 9th. Like, yes, I dropped her off on June 9th. And then I went to work. There is Tony screwed her over a little bit. She went and picked Tony up from school and then took him to an auto repair shop to pick up his Jeep, either pick up or drop off his Jeep. And then the three of them on June 9th, Tony, Casey, and Caylee, went to Subway, and Casey bought them all Subway.
Okay.
And they were seen at Subway on June 9th.
Okay.
So that's incorrect too. Automatically now, that's false.
Okay.
On June 9th? No, you saw your daughter after June 9th because you were at Subway.
Yeah.
You weren't at work on June 9th. You were at Subway with your boyfriend and your daughter.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, so detectives then ask her if she has told anyone about Caylee being gone in the last 31 days. She then says yes. She has talked to Jeffrey Michael Hopkins and a girl named Juliet Lewis. It's another friend. And she had tried to call Zenaida and her mom multiple times. These people either don't exist or she has fabricated a connection to her and Caylee. Yeah. For instance, Jeff Hopkins. He exists, but not in the way that she's saying he does.
Right.
Zenaida, completely made up, and by happenstance there's someone named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, like
who lives in Florida
and applied or wanted information on an apartment at Sawgrass Apartments.
She find that out? Like what?
I have no idea. Well, that was the day she went missing too.
Yeah.
So she had been using this name way prior.
Oh, okay. Wow.
For a year and a half prior to that. So it's like that's a total fluke.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she said the people she's naming, Juliet Lewis, I don't know if she exists or not, but the people she's naming are either people she's heard their names before or old people, like old classmates, like for instance, that she's almost like creating these new characters, this new narrative.
When she hears a name, she like writes it down. Like, I'll use that later.
I'll use that later to get me out of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. They then ask her why she never called 911. And she said, quote, "I think part of me was naive enough to think I could handle this myself, which obviously I couldn't. And I was scared something might happen to her if I did notify authorities or get the media involved," end quote.
Okay, but yeah. No.
But there was no like ransom note. There was no
it wasn't like
don't contact the authorities.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you scared?
And your story was that it was her nanny who had been with her already for a year and a half. So it's like,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then detectives say, all right, why don't we go to Universal so we can talk to Jeffrey Hopkins?
Right.
Only to learn at the gate, they walk up to the gate, right? And Casey, she walks up to the security guard. Right. Here's the thing. The detectives at this point know that she does not work at Universal Studios. Everyone else knows that she doesn't work at Universal Studios.
Right,
The only
they
person
found that
who
out.
doesn't know that she doesn't work at Universal Studios is the security guard. And so she walks up to the gate and she said, I'm so stupid. I forgot my ID, but here's my name. If you can look me up, that'll be fine. I don't know if she's thinking I'll still be in the system because I did work there.
Right.
You know, like, I don't know if she's thinking that or what, but he searches her. She does not work there. She hadn't, in fact, worked there for years, since 2005.
Yeah.
So whatever, 2006. I can't remember exactly. But then not only was she not in the system, but then the security guard goes, who's your supervisor? And she said, Jeffrey Michael Hopkins. And they search him up in the computer. And he has never worked for Universal Studios, as we know. Mm-hmm. They knew. They obviously knew. They knew that she didn't work there.
Let her do her thing.
They took her to Universal Studios expecting her to fold, right? Like, they were expecting her to, like, okay, well, why don't we drive on to Universal? Expecting her to be like, I actually got fired. You know, like, and then she didn't. And so they were just waiting. When are you going to give up on this lie?
Right.
When are you going to give up on this? The security guard is literally sitting here saying, you don't work here. Jeff doesn't work here. Give it up, you know?
Yeah.
They were just waiting for her to fold.
And
so then they finally release her, and Caylee goes home and she immediately texts her boyfriend. And it's a ridiculous, I mean, like, she is ridiculous in this conversation. I'm going to read the text to you.
Oh,
Tony.
okay.
Tony is her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Tony says, where is Caylee? Caylee, I honestly don't know. Tony, I don't know. ... Are you serious? When did you find out? Caylee, been filling out reports all night and driving around with multiple officers looking at old apartments I had taken her to. I am the worst effing person in the entire world. I don't know what I'll do if something happens to her. And then too long, let's just leave it at that. Tony, why wouldn't you tell me, of all people, I was in past tense, your boyfriend that cares about you and your daughter? Doesn't make sense to me. Why would you lie to me thinking she was fine and with your nanny? Caylee, I lied to everyone. What was I supposed to say? I trust my daughter with some psycho. How does that look? Tony, I don't know what to say. ... I just hope your daughter is okay, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help your family and the cops. Super sweet of him, right?
Yeah. He broke up with her because he said was, right?
He said he didn't even break up with her. He just said, I was your boyfriend.
Yeah. No, that's the
there
end.
we go.
Yeah.
And then Caylee, I was put in handcuffs for almost 10 minutes and sat in the back of a cop car. The best thing and most important person in my life is missing, and God only knows if I'm ever going to see her again. I am the dumbest person and the worst mother. I honestly hate myself. The most important thing is getting Caylee back. I truly hope that you can forgive me. Granted, I will never be able to forgive myself, nor will my family. Okay. So Tony completely ignores that and says, who is this Zanny Nanny person?
Yeah.
Caylee, someone I had met through a personal friend about 4 years ago. She used to be my buddy Jeff's nanny before she became mine. I'm scared. Tony, are you home? Caylee, yes, almost 12 hours of stuff, finally getting a shower. I feel like hell. Tony, where did you drop off Caylee last time you saw her? So, like, Tony's clearly trying to get information out of her.
Yeah.
He's trying to get, I'm sure he's talking to detectives and they're trying to get him to get her to tell them information that she didn't tell them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, catch you in a lie type of a thing. Caylee, at her apartment at the bottom of the stairs. Tony, specifically where? Caylee, Sawgrass Apartments. Have told and showed the police the apartment. Told them and drove out there with 2 different officers. Just got back from the second drive. If they find her, guess who gets blamed and spends an eternity in jail?
What?
Or if they don't find her.
Oh.
Sorry. If they don't find her, guess who gets blamed and spends an eternity in jail? She is way more concerned with herself. She only cares about herself. She doesn't give a crap about anybody else. She doesn't give a crap that her daughter is missing. She doesn't give a crap that her parents are absolutely distraught. She doesn't care that she's stolen money from friends, from family.
Yeah.
She doesn't care at all. Her main concern is her. And that's like, it's like, I got put in handcuffs and I had to drive around for 12 hours and I haven't been able to shower. And if she doesn't get found, I'm going to go to jail. It's like, girl, your daughter is missing.
If you had been searching for months, going to all these malls and things, this would just be another night for you searching. But you obviously have not been searching because you're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I've been searching for 12 hours. Like, what the heck? Also,
I haven't been able to take a shower. It's like you need a shower after 12 hours. Also, I'm sorry.
No,
but you need a shower after 12 hours? Really? Like, that would not be my concern. At all.
Right. Of all people, though, like, also, like, you would tell your significant other out of anyone. You know what I mean? Like, if you were freaked out, if your daughter was missing, that would be one of the people that you would tell, I feel like. Unless I guess if you're...
But unless you killed your daughter. But,
yeah. Well, yeah.
So then at 4:30 p.m. Sorry, do you have anything else to say about it?
No, okay. My mind is blown.
I know. At 4:30 p.m. the same night, Casey is arrested on the charges of child neglect, filing a false police report, and obstructing an investigation. Thank God. Obviously, she's filed a false police report because she said she worked at Orlando Studios. Yeah. That alone. And then she said the last time I saw her was June 9th, but then they talked to Tony and just kidding. We were with her on June 9th. You know, like we had her with us on June 9th. You know, like, so it's like everything's coming crashing down at this point. All her lies are catching up with her. Yeah. The media is beginning to pick up on this story. Casey and Caylee's photos are blasted everywhere, specifically Caylee's photos, because George and Cindy are doing interviews trying to get the word out, trying to see if anyone saw anything. Yeah. So then at this point, Casey sees one of the broadcasts and she is pissed. She is livid. She calls her mom from jail. It's her first phone call from jail. And it says, quote, "I saw your nice little cameo on TV." End quote.
She says this to her mom?
To her mom. And then Cindy goes, "Which one?"
You mean several?
She had done several. She said, "I've done several. I don't know which one you saw." She goes, "Well, you're not saying nice stuff." And then she gets upset because she goes, "You don't know my involvement and stuff." And then Cindy was like, "I don't know your involvement. You won't tell me where she is." And she's like, "If I knew where she was, this wouldn't be happening." So Cindy and George claiming that they didn't know Casey's involvement really sent her over the edge, because she probably thought that she was fooling everyone. She thought she had everyone wrapped around her finger. She had control of the situation and that they wouldn't possibly not believe her, because her entire life they got her out of every situation she had possibly gotten into. You know, like, so she'd gotten away with the lies before. Probably did cause her to spiral a little bit, because she was like, "What do you mean you don't know my mom involvement? I just told you my involvement. I've been looking for her. I don't know where she is." Like, and so she's realizing, crazy, I don't actually have control of the situation. So,
oh my gosh.
Casey continues on this phone call to ask Cindy and Lee and a friend of hers, Christina Chester.
Was that a real person?
Yes, that was a real person. To get her Tony's phone number so she can call him, because she hadn't been able to talk to him because she got, quote, "arrested on an effing whim," end quote.
Yes, on a whim. Yes. Yeah.
So Cindy goes, "I don't have his number." And she goes, "Well, then give the phone to Lee, because I know Lee has his phone number, because I know he texted him." And then so Lee gets on the phone. He's fed up with her. You can find it on TikTok. Yeah. The whole conversation. Just look up Casey Anthony first phone call from jail or something like that. Okay. Or jail phone call or whatever. And then she's like, "I know you know his number. You're not helping. Don't even come to like my bond hearing. Like, you all aren't even helping." And he's like, "You're not going to cut. Like, I'm not going to sit here and go round and round with you. Christina wants to talk to you. She thinks she can get information out of you." Hands the phone to Christina. She's the entire time she's like, "Oh, honey. Oh, sweetie. I know." Like, being very condescending. Yeah. And she's like, "Listen, calling you guys was a huge waste. Give me the phone number." And then Christina's like, does Tony have anything to do with this? And then she goes, "You probably don't want to tell me though, do you?" And then she was like, "No." And she goes, "Wait, what? I didn't hear you." And she heard the Tony part, not that "you probably don't want to tell me." And then she said, "I said you probably don't want to tell me." And then she's like, no, he has nothing to do with it," which I don't believe he does. Yeah. Especially after that. But Yeah, so she's basically like, you guys all suck. Calling you was a huge waste. And then she said to Christina, she said, I'll get your number from someone and I'll be able to call you later. I just want Tony's phone number. Can you put Lee back on the phone? And she said, Lee's not coming back to the phone. She's like, don't even bother. Don't even bother coming to my hearing.
Yikes.
Whatever. I'm sure they did go to the hearing. So then,
Well, yeah.
June 17th, Caylee has her first hearing and she is denied bail. The judge said, quote, she showed a...
June 17th or July?
July, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was like, wait.
July 17th.
Okay.
He says, quote, she showed a woeful disregard for the welfare of her child.
Who said this?
The judge.
The judge, yes.
Denied bail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Caylee then is able to retain an attorney. That was mixed up. Jose Baez. And Jose Baez represented Aaron Hernandez and Harvey Weinstein.
Okay.
Now, Jose Baez had only been practicing in Florida for 3 years because the Florida Supreme Court said that he had a lack of respect for others and a lack of respect for the legal system.
Oh.
So it took him a while
To get.
It took like 8 years to convince him to be able to practice. So he'd only been
Wow.
practicing for 3 years at the point of the Caylee Anthony trial.
Okay.
And
And he was her lawyer.
he was her lawyer.
Okay.
He was her defense attorney. In the meantime, police have tracked down Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
This poor woman.
And this poor woman.
That's the thing, she just dragged people into it.
She has no connection to them. She is rightfully cleared of all charges.
Yeah, she has no idea what's happening.
She's completely cleared. They 100% certainty can say that she has no connection to Caylee or Caylee Anthony or any of the Anthonys for that for that matter. But like this poor woman. And I remember them finding her. I remember them being like, they found the nanny. Like they found the nanny.
Right.
The nanny has been contacted. And then,
But she's not the nanny.
And then I remember them being like, the nanny's been cleared. She doesn't have her. She doesn't know. And then I remember watching an interview with her and she's like, I was shocked. I was floored. I had no idea. I mean, I knew who Caylee was because I knew that they were searching for her. And I thought that poor baby girl, but like, before watching it on the news, I didn't know anything about it. You know, like she was.
Can you imagine like you're just living your life and all of a sudden you get like called for a trial that you have no idea who.
It wasn't even the trial yet. It was just the detectives looking for her.
Oh, okay. So so she didn't have to go to trial. Did she? Or was she called as a witness?
I can't remember if she was called as a witness
because she has no information because she's like, I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it was like it was televised at least partially, but I didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to watch the trial, obviously, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you're a child, and
yeah, and the trial happened in 2011,
right? Because it never happens.
Because it never is quick.
It takes a long time.
So more and more media attention is coming to this, and the public is starting to form their opinion. And that opinion is that Caylee Anthony killed Caylee without a body, without any like the public has come to the opinion that Caylee murdered her daughter.
It looks that way.
That it does. Cindy then tells Caylee that there are reports that suggest Caylee isn't alive anymore. She's in prison. They're on a phone call. It's like the mirror in between them. They have the phones and whatnot.
Right.
Cindy tells Caylee they're reporting that it's Caylee's probably not alive anymore.
Well, don't they say like the first 48 hours are critical for like kids? I don't remember if it's 48 or 24 for like children who are abducted. It's like it doesn't.
Well, but if it's like but they knew that. They were working under the premise that she had talked to her the day prior to, or the day the phone call was made.
Right. So they might have been counting from that time.
Yeah.
Like, no, she's not.
Yeah. So Casey's response is surprise, surprise, and then she rolls her eyes.
What mother?
Also, remember that email I told you about in part 1. Again, if you haven't watched part 1, go back.
Yeah.
Where she literally, one of the things she says was, as posing as another person, they won't let us in the building yet. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
surprise.
It's like
that's her
catchphrase. That's
phrase.
her verbiage. You know, like, it's like, what in the world?
Why would you say that about your child? Like, what? No mother.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I
obviously,
could see,
she is her mother, but
accepting the fact that, she's been gone for 31 days.
She's gone.
Even if she had been abducted,
but that's not
she's probably dead.
Yeah.
Like,
those aren't the words you would use though, or roll your eyes.
No.
You would be like, I know, or and be like, I know, like,
yeah. Everyone deals with things differently.
For sure.
But that's very... and that came out...
cold.
They were releasing their phone call conversations. And the news was getting a hold of them. And that came out. And that just further solidified public opinion.
Everyone was furious.
I mean, everyone was like, oh my God, she is evil.
Yeah.
She is cold and unfeeling and evil. Even if she didn't do it, she's cold and unfeeling and evil. Right. That is who...
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah.
So then July 22nd, her bail is set for $50,000.
Dang.
And she is released from Orange County Prison a month later. She's released because a California bondsman, Leonard Padilla, his nephew, Tony Padilla, paid her bail because they believed that, hey, we want to do everything we can, and we hope that we can help you find your daughter if we can get you out on bail. We're hoping to find her.
Who were these people?
They're from California. They just knew about the case, and they had hoped that they would be able to help find Caylee.
Okay. Why would they release her to help find her? I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Because I don't. They just hoped that they could help, and by paying her bail, maybe he would win her over a little bit and she would be able to tell him a little bit more,
what happened. Yeah.
So by the time that he had gotten her home and he saw that there was the news broke that she was out on bail, an angry mob broke out in front of the Anthony's residence. There was 100%. People were ticked. Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as he saw that, he revoked the bond and sent her back to jail.
Oh my gosh.
And he also reported that Casey wasn't really wanting to talk to him. Casey wanted nothing to do with him. She was just happy that she was out.
She only cares about herself. That's been...
Yeah. And this mob got so bad. There was physical altercations of protests, towards George and Cindy.
Right.
Just trying to leave their home. It's
right.
Okay.
Right.
So then August 11th through 13th. So at this point, Caylee Anthony would have been 3 years old. She would have celebrated her 3rd birthday. Roy Kronk, he is a meter reader for their neighborhood, and their neighborhood is on his route. And he, not police officer meter reader, the water, the sewage.
Oh, okay. I was what?
He stopped to relieve himself. He pulled off to the side of the road in this wooded area, and he saw a bag in the wooded area. Now, Hannah.
No.
He called the police. They said, all right, we'll send someone out. He wanted to wait so he could point the police in the right direction, right? And he waited for 3 hours and no one showed up. So then he left and he called back the next day and he told them what happened. And they were like, oh, well, we can't have anybody meet you out there today, but if you're free tomorrow, if you can meet them out there and show them where it was, then they'll meet you. Because right now he called the cops because there's a bag.
So he didn't go look at it.
No, because he didn't want to disturb anything.
Yeah, I would be. No.
So he didn't go look at it, and everybody's on high alert. There's a child missing. You see a random bag.
Yeah.
Not even a quarter mile from the road from the house. So it's okay. So 11th, he sees it. 12th, he calls again, and they say, we can't get anybody out there.
What do you
Come
mean?
back tomorrow. So the 13th, he goes back. What do you mean?
What do you mean you can't send anyone out?
So the 13th, he goes back. I guess it's not high priority. They have other things. It's Florida. So, stuff happens.
I know, but you're actively looking for this child.
Well, yeah.
You take a lead.
But it's not a lead.
I guess it's not a lead. Yeah, it could just be a bag of trash. You don't know. Yeah.
It could be a dead dog for all we know.
Yeah.
So he goes back on the 13th and the officer meets him there and he points in the direction that he remembered it being. And the officer walks up to it's There's like a swampy area.
Yeah.
Right
It's
before
Florida.
the wooded area. And he walks up to like the edge of the swampy area. He looks around and he just kind of shrugs it off because he doesn't see anything. And then he's like, all right, thanks for reporting it. Okay. And then they go on their merry little way. This is in August. In the meantime, more and more protesters are breaking out. Protests are breaking out of the family home. And it's like they're just going through hell, basically.
Right.
And then in October, forensics from Casey's car. Yeah, we're jumping forward a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Forensics from Casey's car come back saying that there is evidence to support a probable cause to arrest Casey Anthony for the murder of Caylee Anthony.
So wait, but she's in jail right now.
She is in jail for filing a false police report, child neglect.
So now they're saying,
but now they're saying there
murder.
is probable cause to arrest Casey for murder. There is probable cause for murder.
They found like DNA evidence of a dead body, or like what exactly? I'm sorry, I'm not forensics. I don't know.
Well, on October 14th, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. On October 14th, Casey is indicted by a grand jury for first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and 4 counts of providing a false information to the police.
Okay.
She is arrested and held without bond, and they decide to seek the death penalty. Something that's important that I did find on TikTok, but the person had read the book of the prosecution on this trial. Okay. Is that because a lot of people were saying, well, she got off because they were seeking the death penalty. They could have chosen to do a lesser charge. They could have chosen to do like life in prison, life without parole, or whatever. October 21st, Casey pleads not guilty to all charges, naturally.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry, we're going to come back to what's in the trunk of her car. Okay. And then December 11th.
My gosh.
Roy Kronk. Homie boy.
Homie boy Roy Kronk.
Sewer meter reader, homie boy. Stops at the same spot to relieve himself yet again, because I guess he's got a small bladder.
His favorite spot to relieve himself.
He's got a spot, it's a wooded area. He's got coverage. He's not going to flash anybody. He goes back and he says, that bag is still there. He's curious.
And the cop couldn't see it.
He didn't even walk into the woods, so it's like he didn't even walk in. He's like, that bag is still there. So he said, I'm curious. I'm dying to know what's inside of it. I'm sure he's not thinking it's a
dead body.
It's a dead body, Sorry to give it away, but if this is the part where I would maybe jump ahead again about 5 minutes if this stuff bothers you. Sorry, Hannah, you can't do that.
I know. I was like, I don't have that choice because it for sure.
So he decides he's going to take matters into his own hands and he's going to go figure out what's in that bag.
Oh my gosh. No, I would never.
He does uncover the remains of Caylee Anthony.
Absolutely.
Inside of this bag, it is, again, you really want to skip ahead if you don't do well with children being harmed. It was a small skeleton. He saw the skull. He took a stick. He saw the skull. And then he called the police. And then he made sure they found it this time. So it was the remains of a small skeleton. It was 2 trash bags. It was a canvas laundry bag. What's important about this canvas laundry bag, it's sold in Walmart at sets of 2. The matching part of the set, the matching laundry bag, was found in the Anthony home. A discolored Winnie the Pooh baby blanket. The important part of this is Caylee's bedroom was decorated in Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. And it's believed that it came from her bed. The remains of the outfit that Caylee was last seen wearing. So if you'll remember the 911 call, she said she was wearing a pink shirt and shorts. It was a pink shirt and shorts, and there's even a picture of her wearing the pink shirt. A pull-up diaper.
Oh my gosh.
Duct tape wrapped around the skull, and that duct tape matches the duct tape in the Anthony's garage.
Yeah. And there was the searches for the suffocation on the computer.
Yes. Yeah, there was.
Like that. So
Again,
so she died in June and wasn't discovered in December. So without like preservation, like
there was
a
nothing.
skeleton.
They couldn't test anything. That's the thing. We'll get into a theory that the defense proposed, but there was no way to test it. There was no way to even test what the prosecution was proposing happened.
Okay. What?
Because it was just a skeleton.
Okay.
So, again, this was a 1/4 mile from the Anthony's residence where this bag was found.
Yeah.
Not that far at all.
No.
Not that far at all. So they did find a stained spot on Casey's trunk liner. And they also found hair. And the hair that they found matches the hair from one of Caylee's brushes that they had at her grandparents' house. This hair showed a specific banding that only happens when the root of the hair is left in the body after it's dead, after the body is died. Oh. So it showed like the proof of decomposition, which means that it showed that Caylee was in fact in the trunk of that car after she had died.
She killed her. Like what? Like how?
They also brought cadaver dogs that were trained to detect the smell of decomposition, human decomposition, and they alerted it to the trunk of Casey's car.
Yeah.
Also in the trunk were stained paper towels containing fatty acid, which is a substance that the body creates during decomposition. And they believed that these paper towels were used to clean up the trunk.
Okay.
Here's where I go back to the impound guy throwing away the bag of rotten trash.
Was that where yeah.
Did that contain more things in it that could help prove that it was in fact Caylee?
Right.
You know? Sorry, you were going to say something else.
That's okay. I'm okay.
Okay. All right. There was this weird air testing thing by this scientist dude. I can't even explain it. He did a really good job explaining it on the trial. So if you look him up, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, I'm the worst.
No, I'm having a hard time with names this round because there's so many people.
There's so many people. But it was like look up chloroform testing Casey Anthony trial and it should come up. There was this weird testing method and they found unusually high levels of chloroform. And so in the if you remember, she searched how to make chloroform,
if none of this is evidence, then what the heck is evidence in court?
It is all evidence.
It is all evidence. Well, yes, but like if that can't convict you, then what can? A confession? Like,
well,
sorry.
You have to be. You were innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
You have to be found guilty without a reasonable doubt.
Right.
If there is a reasonable doubt,
what was the doubt? That's what I want to know. What's the reasonable doubt? Are we getting there? Okay.
Yeah.
My gosh, you guys.
So the chloroform suggests that Casey had knocked Caylee out, like used it to subdue her, and then placed the duct tape over her mouth and stuffed her in a bag to suffocate her.
Right. That's exactly
honestly,
what she had.
I am not defending this woman at all. But honestly, in this instance, if she had been knocked out with chloroform, that means she potentially didn't suffer and didn't feel anything.
I hope not, but like
I hope to God that helped that situation.
What? My gosh.
But that's the theory, right? So now we're getting more into the trial. Okay. Do you have anything to add before we get into the trial?
No. Hannah's
pissed.
Yeah.
I'm pissed
just
too.
Like what? It's just the justice system.
Again, though, this is the theory of what happened. We can't know for sure what happened because there was we couldn't test her lungs. You know, like there was no lungs. You know.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a child in a bag. Like regardless, like she was, what do you mean? That's evidence. Like it's just, it doesn't, she's dead. She's in a bag. Like someone killed her.
Nobody's denying that she died.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, but like it died of unnatural causes.
But there is question as to how she died.
Yeah.
Again, because we couldn't autopsy a body.
Yeah.
Which again, if they had found her in August, she would not have been. I mean, yes, she would have died in June.
She would have.
So it would have been 2 months.
I feel like there would still have been something.
But there would have been more there.
There would have been more.
I mean, like they found remnants of the shirt. They didn't find the shirt. They found remnants of the shirt. Like 6 months went by.
Yeah.
Before they found her body. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting into the trial now. The very, very start of the trial, the defense drops a bombshell. And I mean a bombshell. All anybody knew was that Caylee Anthony's body was found and that her mother had seen her and didn't report her missing, and that she made up a nanny and she was telling all these lies. This is what they knew at this point. And then the trial starts. And in the opening argument, the defense tries to claim that George, Casey's father, covered up the fact that Caylee had drowned in the family pool on Father's Day.
Even though, didn't they not have proof of her and Tony in the Blockbuster after this with Caylee, or no?
No, that was the 9th. That Father's Day was the 15th.
Oh my gosh! But she went over to her great grandmother's, right, with the baby, the mom.
Yeah, but Caylee stayed with them that night.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they said that George covered it up, and that they knew that it was George because the body had been discarded in the same manner that George had discarded the family pets in the past.
Well, okay, but Casey knew that. So what if she did it that way?
Did she know that?
I don't know. I would assume. I don't know.
We can't know. Like,
right,
but did she know that? Are you sure she knew that? Do you see the doubt?
Yeah.
Do you see the? Are you sure she knew that?
Yeah.
Did she know how she did that? Did she know?
How did they get this information from George? Who'd they get it from? That he discarded it?
This was just their what they said. I don't know.
Because they got it from someone. They got it from Casey.
They came up with the whole thing is that Caylee was found dead, right? They didn't know how she died.
Right.
They didn't know who killed her. They didn't know when she died exactly. Like, it's like, okay. In my opinion, she died in that period where her phone was off.
Yeah.
And then she immediately tried to call her mom 4 times because she realized I just killed.
Well, because that's the thing too, is that Tony, was it Tony or Jesse heard her in the car, and that was after Father's Day.
And then it was crickets.
Yeah.
And then nothing. Yeah. But so they brought witnesses saying that Casey was completely carefree during the time that Caylee was missing. So if she couldn't have possibly killed her daughter and then been completely carefree. They brought forth that the air testing thing where they found like the high levels of chloroform had never once been allowed in a trial in the US before. So it couldn't be that credible.
What?
Because it wasn't allowed in the US before.
So?
I'm not saying they're correct. I'm just saying, I'm saying
it would be weird that it actually detected the chloroform and that you had been searching for chloroform.
Yes.
Well,
we'll get to that.
Okay.
Without the duct tape, they said without the duct tape, there would be no other indicator that this was a homicide. So who's to say that it wasn't an accident and someone had staged the duct tape?
What? That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? What do you mean the duct tape? What about her being in a bag?
But they're not
wrong.
What
about her being in a bag?
Here's the thing. They're not wrong that without duct tape being present, nobody would think this was a homicide. They would think that, without, not that nobody would think it, but they would think someone could conclude, She drowned in the bathtub, and then they tried to hide the body.
Well, even still, hiding the body is a crime.
Hiding the body is a crime, yes.
So it's like, but it being in a bag is like, okay. I don't know. Wasn't there
covering up of the body shows remorse.
Well, yeah, but you think you would bury her if you actually felt that much remorse.
Well,
like, why wasn't she buried?
So that the animals could get to her, probably.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And further dispose of the body.
Yeah.
Probably is my guess.
Yeah.
You know, if you're putting it in a swampy area, you're probably hoping an alligator comes and gets it. It's Florida, you know?
Yeah. Gosh.
So they're
I just think that's so weak for the other, like, okay.
Here's the thing about it. The prosecution has the hard job here in this situation.
Yeah,
because they have to be innocent beyond a shadow, or like beyond a shadow of a doubt. They have to be guilty.
Yeah.
If there's any shred of doubt,
they won't.
You're not supposed to find them guilty. You can't go based off of, I know in my heart that this is what happened, but this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, if that doesn't make sense, that's a doubt. And you can't find them guilty.
Okay, but we've seen so many trials where they have been convicted on less.
O.J. Simpson was the same way. There was one shred of doubt,
and
so they can't convict him. Especially, like, they can't do it. They also, this is really sad and really shady. They tried to use George's suicide attempt against him. So after they confirmed that they found the remains of Caylee Anthony, George wrote a note, and he said he was going to go and unalive himself. And then the family went and they kind of stopped him from doing that. But in the note, he says, "I blame myself for what happened." But they took that quote out of context. Yeah. And what he was saying is he blamed himself for not being a better father to the family, and it's like his family's falling apart, and he's thinking his daughter killed his granddaughter, and he's like, "I blame myself for not raising a better human." Basically,
yeah. There would be many reasons why someone could say that.
Yes. And then the prosecution or the defense also claimed, and this is sad, that there was abuse of not only Casey, but also on Caylee from the brother Lee. Lee was eventually cleared of any allegations of this. So I don't want anyone to think, but that was in the opening arguments. They accused Lee of assault. And the judge even later said, for a fair trial, you're not to mention that again. Like he wasn't allowed to mention it in the closing arguments or bring it up later at all.
Dang.
Because it wasn't true.
Right.
So
why would he have got involved, trying to find her? I don't know.
So they also asked questions in the closing argument. Her defense did exceptional. And that is such a shame. Yeah. It's I wish she had a worse lawyer. Yeah. But her defense did an exceptional job at planting doubt. Yeah. They asked questions in the closing argument when did she die? We don't know when she died. We don't. Yeah. We don't have a time of death. How did she die?
We don't know.
The theory is that she was... chloroformed and then suffocated, but your theory, you can also, because they also proposed a theory that she drowned in the swimming pool. Yeah. You can't say without a doubt that's 100% how she died. Who actually killed her? The theory is that it's Casey. Casey was the only one home, but it could have been Tony. It could have been, he even went as far to say it could have been Roy. You don't know,
the guy who found her?
Yeah. Trying to get money out of it or whatever. He said, how can you prove it? You can't prove any of it without a doubt, No one can say with absolute certainty how, no one can answer these questions.
Right.
And he even went as far in his closing argument to show a picture of 2-year-old Caylee opening the sliding glass door on her own, thus proving that she could have woken up, she could have opened the door, and she could have gone outside and gotten into the pool and drowned. if the by happenstance the ladder wasn't up because you don't know, like that alone creates doubt of like, hey, yeah, we're saying this is what happened, but she could have opened the door. Like, we know she can open the door, and they could have forgotten to take the ladder up. Like, that's a doubt. Yeah. So they couldn't, unfortunately, convict her.
Oh my gosh.
The prosecution, it was just a theory. They only had a theory. They had no hard evidence that for sure she used chloroform on her daughter. There was chloroform in the trunk, but they couldn't prove that she used chloroform. They could prove that she was in her trunk after she died, except that the defense then used the same witness to say, well, it's possible in bizarre circumstances to have that banding if they're alive, but it's very rare. It's very rare. You know, like, but it's possible.
It's possible. But yeah, but like, sorry.
See, so that's what it's like. Oh, it is. It's infuriating. It's an ugh moment. The prosecution was throwing out there, this is our theory of what happened. And our theory is that Casey saw Caylee as an obstacle to the life she wanted. She did not want to be a mother. She didn't even want to have Caylee. If you remember in part 1, she wanted to give her up for adoption. But her parents made her keep her. She wanted to live a life where she could go out and she could party, but she couldn't go out and she couldn't party if she had to always constantly be watching her daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that she's like evil and like in her inherent core. She could have just snapped. She's a young girl. She's a pathological liar.
Definitely
she's under a lot of stress.
She's definitely a sociopath.
She
or whatever.
Probably snapped. You know, like she could have just snapped. But
from even very early on, she was lying and
she was always lying.
Something.
Yeah. The prosecution also had Lee testify that, you know, he was the driver of that car before Casey was, and there was no stain in the trunk liner when he had it last. And then when the prosecution, this is the devil of it all. When the prosecution brought Cindy up on the stand, on the witness stand, she said, "Oh, remember that chloroform search? No, that wasn't Caylee. That was me. I was trying to search how to make chlorophyll because I didn't want the bamboo leaves to be poisoning our dogs. I was worried that they were going to poison our dogs, but I accidentally corrected chloroform." Keep in mind, she is a nurse.
Yeah.
She knows the difference between chlorophyll and chloroform.
And also, even if it was like, oh man, that autocorrected, didn't it say from household products? So that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
But she took the blame for it. She basically was like, no, that was me. Here's my thing, Cynthia. You were at work when those searches were made.
Yeah.
That could not have possibly been you. You were working.
Yeah.
But that created doubt.
Yeah.
It confused the jury. They were confused. They were like, oh, well, maybe she did do it.
But there was no dog. Like when I search something, because I am OCD, as we know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can dogs eat, blueberries? Can dogs eat?
Yeah.
Or what if a dog gets a hold of this? Like that's the main thing of my search. It's not just.
If you're searching something, let's be real. If you're searching something for like, if bamboo leaves, like your dogs are eating bamboo leaves, you would search, do bamboo leaves have chlorophyll?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you would search.
Yeah. Not how do you make?
Not how to make chlorophyll.
Yeah.
Chloroform, sorry.
Well, yeah, but that's what she claimed.
But
that's what it would have been if she was actually searching it that way. How do you make chlorophyll? Which doesn't absolutely make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. So anyways, back to, again... So that's also why I was like, I think that Cindy cleared her search history because Cindy tried to take the fall for the chloroform. She was
probably trying. Well, I mean, that is your daughter, but like, you're trying to protect it from looking
bad. So again, the defense only had to prove one doubt. One thing. If there was one doubt,
you can't.
You can't convict. So they said that the duct tape could have been moved or staged. They again said that the band, it could. There's bizarre cases of it on the living person.
So staged like by Roy, because like who else would have staged
not
that?
by Roy, no.
Well, who else would have staged
They
such
were just
a thing?
saying it was staged. Yeah, actually, maybe.
By
I don't
who?
know.
Because like, why would you, if it was just an
I don't
accident,
know.
why would you stage it? Well, unless you're trying to look like she was kidnapped or something like that. Wait, okay.
Yeah. They really went after the air theory, the air testing thing. They really went after that guy, and they even had him testify for them too. They tried to blame Roy, and they tried to say, he was acting suspicious. He contaminated the crime scene. He was just trying to get money from they like anyone,
Yeah.
They called in a mental health expert.
Oh my gosh.
To excuse Casey's behavior during the 31-day period, it's claiming that she was in denial and not that she was neglectful. And then they called the jury to acknowledge reasonable doubt in the case. And eventually, again, I know I've said it already, but Casey Anthony was not convicted of any of the charges. And that's what's crazy to me is like, it's not even the big ones, not even, she didn't even get charged with any of the misdemeanors. She didn't get charged with filing a false police report.
That's what I'm saying.
They found her not guilty of that. They didn't find her,
but it was
They didn't find her guilty of child neglect.
It was child neglect. Like what, like no matter what, like those things she should have been.
If they didn't find her guilty of presenting false information to the police or interfering with an investigation, or like they found her not guilty of every single charge. And that is what I can understand, the reasonable doubt on the first degree murder charge.
Yeah.
But not getting charged with any of the other things is what is crazy.
So she didn't get charged for anything?
She walked off scotch-free.
My mind is blown. Sorry, I just was sitting
she
here in
may
silence.
have gotten charged for the misdemeanors, but at that point it was 2000.
served it.
She was in prison for 2008 to 2011. She had already served her time for it, so she got off scotch free.
This is so angrying to me. Like, what the heck?
And then now here she is on TikTok trying to make a freaking profit.
Yeah.
For legal advice. She also claimed in her video that this trial is in 2011.
Yeah.
She claimed that she was a legal advocate and researcher since 2011. You're going to tell me you immediately left your trial and you got a job at a law firm being an advocate for people? No, I don't think so.
She got a job. Where did she work?
I don't know.
Without a degree?
I have no idea. Not even a high school degree.
Right.
She at this point,
half credit.
And by 2011, she didn't even have a GED.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying that.
Like, oh my gosh.
And now she's trying to, it's just, because she even uses her, she said, I'm trying to be an advocate for people like me and my daughter. And I'm like, you keep her name out of your mouth.
Yeah, really.
Right now. Like, don't even, like, and if she's not guilty, then, okay, well, then something happened and you knew something. Otherwise, you wouldn't have acted the way you did.
Right. Regardless of, okay, I'm going to regardless of whether or not she killed her daughter, which to me, there is a lot of fishy behavior and
there is.
If it was the grandparents or if it was someone else in her life, regardless, she did not for 31 days report it. And she didn't even report it. Her mom reported it. She was partying. Mm-hmm. So you're going to tell me, and when she said surprise, surprise, so you're going to tell me that she's going to say, and for my daughter, all you cared about
was yourself
at the time. Yes, exactly. So it's like, regardless.
Which she's like 39 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sorry. Like, even if it wasn't, okay, well, she should have been charged for neglect or, something. Like,
filing a false police report? She didn't get charged with filing a false police report at all.
She stole from people. She lied. It was a false police report.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people have been convicted for way less. But like you said, by that point, she had served 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So anyways,
wow.
If you're just as upset about the Casey Anthony trial, Marshall just opened the door and said, I'm upset. Would you like to make a cameo in the podcast?
Yeah, I just think it's total insert expletives here. That she's just running around free.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what Marshall has to say about it. Everybody,
Yeah.
welcome Marshall to the podcast. But again, if you are just as upset about this, or like Hannah said in the last one, if you have more true crime stuff that you would like to hear us cover, you can reach us at lattespodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook and Instagram at lattes on my mind. Marshall distracted me. Or you can actually reach out to us on our website. We have a contact us page, and that'll go straight to us. And that website is lattespodcast.com. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube.
Yeah. Did we say
Spotify, Apple,
Amazon,
Audible, YouTube. Wow, I got
feel
all
like we
of
missed
them.
something.
I feel like we did too. You can find us on
Yes,
pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And comment on any of those.
Yeah.
So
like I said last time,
don't kill your child.
well,
Wow.
sorry, I'm not.
Don't do that, though. That's a very important PSA right there.
Like I said last time, if you see something, say something. And I know that sometimes it can be upsetting to talk about true crime for me. But also it brings awareness, I think.
It does, yeah.
Don't be a pathological liar.
And if
That's
a cop
my
shows up
takeaway.
to look at something that you saw that was suspicious and you can tell that they didn't actually look at it, you go back and you make sure they look at it, or you call back again and you say, hey, look at it, bitch.